We're Laura and Cindy, and you're listening to the Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry podcast, where we talk about natural horsekeeping and deepening your connection with your horse. I'm Laura, your horse care mentor. I teach natural horse management practices after working with over 200 horses and seeing how current industry standards are compromising the health of the horse.
And I'm Cindy, your horsemanship mentor, offering a proven and unique approach to creating deep connections with your horses from 20 plus years of experience, including working with wild Mustangs. If you enjoy this conversation, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening to us so we can get this podcast into the ears of more passionate horse people. Hello, everyone. Today's podcast episode is going to be about how do we show up and engage with our horses when we are struggling either mentally or emotionally for whatever might be going on in our lives. And Laura and I think this is really a very important topic to cover because we all have horses because they make us feel so good. And for me, when I'm spending time with my horses, time stands still. And when I leave, I feel grounded and often clear-headed. And even if things didn't go well, I still feel better than I did before I started engaging with my horses. What this topic is all about is how do we engage with our horses when we are either mentally or emotionally not on top of our game? We're distracted. What are your thoughts on that, Laura?
Well, my first move when that happens is to throw out any and all expectations for the day. Like, that is not the day where we're going to be perfecting our side passes or going on a trail that we've never been on that is going to have stuff that we know is scary. It's not the day. It is the day for non-demanding time. It is the day for returning to a place or an exercise that you know like the back of your hand, that just feels familiar and good to you and your horse. But it's totally unfair to your horse to expect them to carry the session when you are emotionally tapped, drained, distraught, not able to hold a calm and clear head. And then you want to go work on some high level thing and expect them to show up despite the fact that you're not there.
I agree. In order for us to be accountable for how we show up as the leader and a partner for our horses, is it comes back to the relationship. And it's okay to be messy. It's okay for our horses to be messy. They have days where they're not on their game for whatever reason. And part of what makes a relationship a special and a unique one is that we're willing to meet each other where we are in that moment and to support one another the best we can. We being the humans, we are exposed to so much more that can upset us emotionally and mentally. That for me, when I'm feeling like I'm just at my wit's end, like I am just mentally tapped out, it's been a day, or emotionally, I am struggling to handle the fear that is so welled up strong in my heart that it's all I can do to stand still in my own skin. I consciously acknowledge that, which takes the exercise of those 3 awarenesses: self-awareness, horse awareness, environment awareness, right? And I acknowledge that that's where I'm at, but I also want to be with my horses because they do the reason they make me feel so good is because they put me in the present moment.
Yeah.
They're so big and so grounded and present that they help me to be more in the moment and settle the shake that's going on in my nervous system because I'm in fight or flight fear. And they feel that. So sometimes you'll walk in and they don't want anything to do with you. And that's the opportunity to not take it personally. And can we not force ourselves on them? But can we just sit maybe outside the pasture or outside their pen and just breathe? And I've found one of the best ways for me to be with them when I'm in that such agitated, want it to all go away place is to just focus on them, soften my gaze so I'm not like lasered in on them, but soften my gaze so I see the entire horse. And then I try to match my breathing with their breathing.
Hmm.
And that way I'm honoring their space because we have bubbles, they have bubbles. My bubble's totally agitated in that moment, right? The last thing I want to do is go get inside their bubble.
And bring that agitation onto them. They do not like that.
Yeah. But to just allow, there's horses are our mirrors. So yes, they will mirror that agitation and that like disruption in our emotional field or our mental field, but they will also be the mirror for us so that we can look at them and find and match what be their reflection. Instead of them being our reflection, we can be the reflection of them, which brings us back into that grounded present moment.
And the interesting part of that is, um, let's say you are just a flurry of emotion and really fractioned energy. Like you do not feel good to be around. And so you just plop down on the outside of the fence, and your horse doesn't want to engage with you because you feel messy. As soon as you start trying, whether or not you get down and you get grounded and you solve all your problems, they're going to want to engage with you because horses aren't like, our society has kind of programmed us to have to be happy and feel good all the time. Horses aren't like that. Horses don't like when you're hiding it, when you're fighting it, or when you're trying to avoid it. But if you sit there honestly with what's going on in your heart and you are just messing in the mud of you, it's not going to be long before a healthy, emotionally well-balanced horse comes over and starts participating, starts inviting your heart to beat at the same rate as theirs, attuning their breath with yours, being that huge, calm, wonderful presence that we want them to be without having to force them and do anything.
Then we have those horses that are super hypersensitive. I'm even going to stretch everybody's um, imagination. Horses are extremely intuitive, extremely sentient beings, and they know what's going on in their environment and in their herd. That is instinctually what they need to do in order to survive. And within the herd, you have the different roles. You have the caregiver, you have the leader, you have the jokester, you have Mr. Mayhem, you have Miss Cranky Pants, you have, don't look at me, you have all those personalities. And so if your horse is one who is a caregiver, they're going to naturally want to come and get in your bubble and soak that energy away from you. That's why they make incredible therapeutic horses and equine assisted learning horses, partners, because they're masters at that. And most of them do it really, really well because they have learned to stay in the present moment. But some who have their own history of ick, of emotional trauma, mental trauma, physical trauma, they're not as good at letting it go. However, they resonate to that almost more magnetically
Yeah.
than the well-balanced horse because they know that feeling.
Yeah.
And so we have to be really mindful of when our horse is giving that to us, when they're holding that space. And how do you know it? You know it just like that friend or that family member that when you are not feeling whole or happy, you call them, you go see them, you have a cup of coffee with them because just merely being in their presence makes you feel better. It's that feeling when you're with that horse. The responsibility we have is to acknowledge that, to thank them very, very much, and to own your energy. And so, what that looks like is you can feel them helping you move that energy. Move it by taking deep breaths and releasing that out through the soles of your feet, not out through your hands or your hugs. Receive, sorry, Laura.
No, I think it's important what Cindy's saying is don't put it back on them. They're helping you diffuse this energy out and away. And if you are clinging to them, rubbing on them, you're sending it back into them. And
Mm,
that's not fair.
right. So I always teach all my clients, and this is on a different pretense, but it's something that I teach them to always do, regardless of every engagement, every interaction, every time you touch your horse. Please touch your horse with your heart in your hand. So in a situation where we're struggling mentally and emotionally, and it's all we can do to keep our shit together and be present in the moment, and our horse is what we want. Groom your horse,
Mm-hmm.
but do it intentionally, receiving their love and their comforting and their presence and their grounded and their courage and their strength. Receive that through your hands and through your heart, but breathe out the energy you're struggling with through your feet. And that's how you receive from your horse without dumping on them.
Dumping on them. And also be really patient with them. As Cindy mentioned, if you have a really sensitive horse or a horse with a traumatic background that is kind of like almost feels safe in that heightened state because of how much time they've spent in there and how patterned it's become, they might be a little jumpy. They might not just stand there and let you, like, you are showing up. This is not a horsemanship exercise. You are showing up with your heart on your sleeve and owning you and allowing them to do the same. So if you bring them out and you try to brush them and they can't stand still, honor that because that is how they're responding to the environment that you brought to the table. And you have to know that they're doing their best. And maybe this wasn't the day for standing still, and that's okay.
Go for a walk if that's the case.
Yeah, move that nervous energy out. Talk to them, cry with them, whatever you need to do. But it's important to notice when you've brought something to the table that's created emotions and is creating behaviors that your horse is struggling with, that is the time for relaxing expectations. And it's important that you do that.
And, to help for any of you that might be listening to this, that might be having a hard time kind of grasping what we're saying, because this is a lot of awareness, not only on who you are and how you're showing up, but your horse and the environment as well, right? And not everybody has had the kind of exposure like Laura and I have. I mean, we've made this a part of our journey is being aware of these kind of things. So here's a scenario
Mm-hmm.
that I know we've all been in. Have you ever been in a group gathering and you're just minding your own business, chatting, visiting with everybody, and here comes that person that we all kind of go, oh God, here they come. And so they come in and they're just big. Their energy is big and they're loud and they get into your personal space and they may even touch you, and but they're just like really a lot. And they walk away and you feel drained. And you're just like, that's somebody who is not aware of how their energy is. They're spilling their energy all over everybody else. And horses don't like that. Or the other, like I did the example where, you have that person that when you don't feel good, you call them because they make you feel good. Well, imagine being that other person, right? And if that other person isn't aware of their own energy and containing their own bubble around them, they will absorb all of your lower vibrational energy. I don't want to call it negative, right? Because our emotions are our emotions and we don't want to label them good or bad. They're just,
Yeah.
some are high, make us euphoric and happy and joyful, and some of them are just heavy and dense and weigh us down. Well, that person who makes you feel good, if they don't have some awareness of their own self-awareness and their spatial bubble to keep from absorbing that, when that person who's really heavy is done spilling into that other person's space, and now they feel better and they walk away happy and uplifted, how does that individual feel? Or you might be that individual. You might be the one that wants to help everybody and make them feel better. But if you're not managing and taking responsibility of your own bubble, you feel heavy.
Yeah.
You feel dense. You feel drained. Well, our horses do the same thing. So it's really okay to be struggling.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. And it's okay to want to be with your horse when you're scared to death, you're angry, you're frustrated, you're confused, you're agitated. It's okay when you're happy and you're euphoric and life is going great. All of that is okay. But how we dump or don't dump on others is what's important, especially our horses and our dogs.
Yeah. And knowing, I'm going to take a whack at this, how you would know, but knowing how well your horse holds their own energetic boundaries is a really nice awareness to have. MJ takes no shit from anyone. Her emotions are her own, and she's not having anybody's. And I had to learn that about her because DT, who I had before her, was an absolute sponge. And I probably dumped on him way more than I should have because I didn't know. When it's actually totally fine. Like if I dump too hard on MJ, she'll just leave. She's a master at holding space when I'm diffusing the energy not at her. A master at it. And she does it for the other horses. She does it within her herd. Like that is the magic of my horse, is that she's so strong in herself. She has the ability to hold that space for everybody else. I can actually show up messier with her than I could with DT because DT wanted to take it all away from me and wanted to take it on of his own. And I didn't know it at the time and I totally let him. But I can see now how that didn't help his management and his emotions and his resilience at all. And it created problems for me. So as you are, it's okay to play with this. It's okay to say, shoot, I think I dumped on my horse today and that wasn't fair. Like you're not going to be perfect at it. It's an awareness you have to develop. But try to pay attention and really see your horse when you're doing this. Are they at peace? Or is there something going on there where they're struggling with it? And that'll kind of let you know, how do they take this on and is it healthy for them and what does that mean for us? Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever looked at your horse and wondered if they're thriving in your care? Is there more you can do to give them the best life possible? Most ranches and boarding facilities are set up for convenience, not horse health, but there's tons you can do to fix your horse's situation if you're willing to get creative. Join Evidence-Based Horsekeeping, my Facebook group where members learn how to improve the mental and physical well-being of their horses. The link is in the show notes.
And so, Laura, can you describe some ways that a horse might show you how they are handling your energy of messiness?
So with DT, I did not understand that the husband of the woman who owned our barn, or I don't even know if he was her husband, but anyway, was a raging alcoholic. I did not pick up on this until one day I was in the barn with DT and I was just brushing him or something. And he came over, he got super up in my face. He was extremely inappropriate, ended up kissing me.
Ah.
I panicked and froze. And DT put himself between me and this man, stomped on his foot, but became absolutely unhandleable for the rest of the day because he was so freaked out by how freaked out that I was. And he was amazing. He took it on. He like ended the conversation because old boy was limping off howling about his toe. But I was trying to calm myself down. And then the next thing you know, I just had this like absolute balloon on the end of a string in terms of like he felt that fear and that emotion from me and blew his top and couldn't come back down. Whereas I could like MJ has defended me in plenty of a situation, not with other people, but with other horses and things. And she'll be very calm and confidently handle it and then go back to normal. Because she didn't take it on. Another horse could be showing, instead of fear and flightiness, it could be anger, biting, kicking, any kind of display of behavior or total shutdown and disengage. I'm standing right next to you, but I'm not here.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all defense mechanisms of, I can't quite handle this in the way it's coming at me right now.
All of those are, yes, those are ways that your horse is communicating to you that something is not well in that moment. I'm thinking about just our horses overall, like thinking about all the horses that I work with and all my clients' horses and the wild ones. And you know that they all have their own unique personalities like we do. And there's some horses who are more emotional,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that when they get excited, they get really excited. And when they get scared, they get really scared. And when they get sad, they're very sad. You know, those are the ones who are going to absorb what we've got going on in an unhealthy way. Where then there's other horses like MJ and Dakota and Dreamcatcher who are just these really incredible wise sages. And it doesn't mean they're emotionless. They share their emotions, but they do it with savvy.
Mm-hmm.
They do it with fitness. They do it and then it's done.
Yep.
And they're grounded and they're here and they're like, got that? Because I'm willing to show you again if you didn't get it. But you got that? So we can move on. Where those emotional ones like Gino and Harry and some of the others here at our ranch, it has to carry on for a while. And as they start to deregulate, you know, as they start to let go of that, any slightest thing can trigger them back into it. I witness in myself and others, and the more and more that I work on my own emotional and mental fitness, the less that this happens. But a horse and a human can feed off of each other.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I mean, so if you have two confident ones, I mean, those are the ones we all, you know, we all look at and go, oh God, I want that, right? But then there's the ones where they both need to be separated and worked individually on learning how to emotionally regulate through their autonomic nervous system because together they're a mess, you
Well,
know?
and it's not just confidence. It's making me giggle as you're talking because MJ and I are very confident, but we're also both stubborn as hell. And when I decide something's going to happen and she decides it's not going to happen, it's not always the most pretty thing ever. And I have to be the human and step back and laugh and go, oh, our stubbornness is feeding off of each other because I'm like, you're going to do what I tell you to do. And she's like, oh, you really think that I am? Because I'm not. And then back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And it's about knowing, as you were talking about, the horses are either very emotional or, more stoic. And it's about knowing who you are as yourself, too. MJ and I are the same person. That is why, even though she can be a lot of horse, my husband gets along with her so well, really well. He's really good at managing her because he's really good at managing me. DT and Quinn were the same person, huge hearts, big anxiety, need a lot of time and a lot of space for these big emotions that freak them out. They don't know how to deal with them. And so when something in our lives unrails us, I'm much more likely to be able to process it quickly and start taking action. Quinn needs more time, and I have to honor that about him. And you need to know that about you. And how big are your emotions? How much time do you need to spend with them? What does it take to get you back down? This is just nature. This isn't something that makes you better or worse. It is your disposition and your horse's disposition. And the best thing you can do is be aware of it and know what it needs and know how to work with it.
I love that. And I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to share a little trick with you. I'm watching all my horses being feisty out the window. Everybody is running around excited. But emotions, our society for generations have taught you that emotions are something that we should not give a lot of attention to, that we should stuff it, we should hide it, we should always be happy. We should always be polite and compassionate and all those good emotions, and those bad emotions we should like go in the closet and let it roar, or bury your head in a pillow, or drink it
Don't do it
away.
publicly, whatever you do.
No,
That's
no,
so
no, no,
inappropriate.
no, no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Drink it away, sex it away, eat it away, smoke it away, get it away, get it away, get it away, get it away. Horses are the masters at teaching us that their emotional system is their guidance system. It is what keeps them safe, and they listen to it. The other thing that they can teach us is that they don't dwell in it. That's where we get in trouble, is we have this sensation come up, we have this emotion stirring, the sensation, and instead of stopping and going, what is that? All right, I'm feeling a little anxious. Why? What's going on around me? Nothing. What was I thinking? Oh, I was thinking this, that always triggers that emotion. I'm at the crossroad where a horse is going to go anxious, flirt, breathe, shake it off, go back to grazing. Humans go anxious because, and because, and because, and because, and because, and we just go deeper and deeper down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. And then before you know it, your life is in shambles when really your mind created that.
Your mind was a runaway horse.
Yeah.
Because your emotions, and you know what? Oh, interesting. I love this. Your mind was a runaway horse because your emotions were allowed to spiral out of control instead of being the warning sign to get your attention to alter course a little bit.
Yeah.
The first step is breathe and ask questions of the emotion. A runaway horse in real life is a horse who is trapped in the emotional experience of a past trauma that the current experience is reminding them of, and so they run. So isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So that is a tidbit that I would encourage you to listen over and over to as many times for you to take that nugget away, because that is truly a nugget, not only for yourself, to recognize, don't let the emotion you're in become the runaway horse that you can't get off of.
Yeah.
And when your horse is getting out of control in whatever way, recognize that he too is trapped in emotions. Do something calmly and groundedly to interrupt the pattern and ask them to do something else.
Yeah. So we wanted to just record this episode because it's where we were at today. And it made sense to talk about it because we think a lot of other people are probably feeling the same way. So I hope it gave you something to think about and something to play with. And just remember that your horse sees exactly what's going on with you, no matter what. And the best thing you can do is just be really authentic about it.
Know that you're not alone, and know that you have the power of choice. We might not be able to change what's going on around us, but we certainly have the power to change what's going on inside of us.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions about the topics covered in this episode, send us a message on our Facebook page, Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry, and we will answer your question in a post on our page. You will be anonymous. We'll just take the question and provide our input, and we want to do it on the post so that we can all learn and grow together, because nobody knows everything. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. We want to remind you that we'll be here every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, following the golden rule. Have a plan, but always be willing to be flexible. Don't forget to connect with us using the links in the show notes below.
If you learned something new today, had an aha, or walked away with a valuable nugget, You can say thanks by leaving us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on.